Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Third Thursday podcast with your hosts, Harry Ozarek and Ben McEntee, where we hope to connect, encourage, and equip student ministry leaders of today. This is a resource provided by the Rocky Mountain District of the Christian and Missionary Alliance, and you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons to help others be connected, encouraged, and equipped to reach students with the gospel. Here are your hosts, Harry and Ben.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Third Thursday podcast. It's great to be with you again. Ben, we have a special episode. Are you ready?
Can't wait. Excited.
Our topic of the day today is Life 2025. I want to make sure I say that again. Life 2025. So everyone take a breath. It's still a year away. We're okay. We got time to plan, but that's what we want to talk about today. How are we going to be ready and plan for Life 2025? And also, we have some special guests with us today to help us understand what Life 2025 is going to be like. So first, we have Chris Tweedy, returning guest to the podcast and behind the scenes master, helping us do all of this and making it successful. So Chris Tweedy from the district office in the Rocky Mountain District. Welcome to the podcast, Chris Tweedy.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. This isn't a very impressive stat, but I think I am now the most frequent guest on this show with two appearances.
Two.
So we've set a exceedingly high bar, but
all-star guest. You're an all-star guest now.
Right. And with that being said, we have a newcomer to the Third Thursday podcast, Charles Amoh from the national office as the co-director of Alliance Youth. Charles, thank you for being here. It's awesome to have you.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for welcoming me to be here and for letting Alliance Youth speak into what is happening in Rocky Mountain District, man. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. And so with Chris and Charles joining us, we're going to be talking about Life 2025. And so before we go too far, Charles and Chris, we like to start our episode with something fun, encouraging, engaging. And so the question of the day today is, what is one of your greatest joys in life? And Chris and Charles, one of you can just jump in. What's one of your greatest joys in life?
Yeah. So one of my greatest joys, man, I was thinking about this question and really my mind just goes back to my family, my wife and my kids. Whenever I'm away from them, man, I just want to get back to them. They are my greatest joy. Spending time with them, whether we're playing, last night we were playing Sushi Go, and it was like one of the most amazing things in the world. It was so fun.
Sushi Go?
Mowing my lawn with my son. Yeah, Sushi Go. You ever heard of that board game before? It is awesome, man. Super fun. Kevin, what's his name? Adam Williams up at Kenmore Alliance. We played with him at council last year. Super fun, and brought the game back home to our family. And man, the kids love it.
We
love eating sushi too.
Maybe we can get a paid sponsorship, Chris, for the podcast. Yes. Sushi Go.
We're working on it.
We're already efforting it. We have a team as we speak.
I love it.
AI Companion is
efforting
this right now.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So, I was thinking about something like recently. So we have 4 kids, and the youngest is 9, and the oldest is about to turn 21 because we don't know how to plan things very well. And so, and we were all super tight as a kid. There's 3 of us in my family. We were all like 2 years apart. And so this idea of having this huge kind of bandwidth was kind of weird at first, but it is so much fun. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm talking with my son about like his career and relationship stuff. And then that same weekend, my daughter graduates high school. And that same weekend, I'm doing student driving with my other daughter. And then I'm playing Nerf guns and Legos and backyard football with my son. So it's this really super fun time of life where I just get to do all these things. But anyway, and one of the things that we like to do a ton that I'm really looking forward to in the next couple months or so is doing some camping. I love just being able to go places where it's completely unplugged. And so looking forward to some of that this year, hopefully with our dry winter, not everything's on fire this year, but we can find some mountain places to go. So that's a joy for us.
Love it.
That's Chris, awesome. Where's your go-to camping spot.
I'll give you my second go-to because my
Oh, don't
first
give away the best
Yeah,
one.
Can't
no,
give
I'm
it.
not.
Can't
We
get.
can't do
It's
that.
secret.
Can't say
Super
that.
secret. Super secret.
It's like
Yeah.
there's already too many people there. No, one of our favorite places. We live just north of Yellowstone, and so people think, oh, Yellowstone's great, and it is. But actually, Grand Teton National Park, which is just south of Yellowstone, that's actually, I think, more fun for us than for hanging out in Yellowstone. It's a little bit further to get to from here. We can get to Yellowstone in like 2 hours, but that's just an awesome, awesome place. So if you ever get out
Near
here,
Jackson
Charles,
Hole.
yep, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
you got to hit Grand Teton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we drove out to Yellowstone. We were living in Wisconsin, 22 hours to get out there, but it was super fun. We drove through Yellowstone down to Grand Teton. It was beautiful, man. So I
There
get
you
it, man.
go.
Really
There
nice.
you go.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. That's a
Awesome.
highlight. Hey, Ben, do you have a greatest joy? I've got a
Everyone's
greatest
going
joy.
with family, and certainly
Not allowed to do that.
I can't triple down on
Triple
family.
dip. Hey, go for it.
How about this? Like, here's a great joy. Sushi. I like sushi, and I'm
So
just
you
going
should like
with.
the game
Yes.
Sushi Go.
I probably would. I was gonna ask, like in Sydney, would sushi go? Would that even work? Do they even know what sushi is in Sydney?
We have sushi in Sydney.
What?
Come on, man. Don't
No.
hate on the small town.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We have
I know,
sushi,
I'm sorry.
and it's good.
I'm sure
I
that
haven't
it
gotten
is.
sick one time. If that's the
Good.
bar for good sushi.
Well, we do have a sushi place.
That shouldn't be your
I
bar.
know.
That shouldn't be your bar, bro.
Yeah, we do have a sushi place in Bozeman that did. Anyway, never look it up.
Oh, yeah.
Look it up.
Well,
yeah,
I
there were
mean,
problems. There were some
you can
health
mess-
issues. I'm sorry.
You can mess up sushi pretty easy.
You can. You can.
It being raw and everything. Yeah.
So does
Yes.
that mean like the score is Sydney 1, Bozeman 0? Like on
Yeah.
the
The
sushi?
sushi
boy.
thing,
Absolutely.
yeah.
in
yeah.
fact, we
Everyone
have-
lives in Sydney. People
Mhm.
don't make it in Bozeman. It's true.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, we got good sushi. And then an hour north in Williston, they have a big hibachi grill with great sushi. They actually make the sushi right
They
in front of you.
do. I've
fresh.
been there. It was
Have
nice.
you? Yeah.
Yeah,
place
I
is
have a college
legit.
friend that lives in Williston,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
we went up there and ate at the hibachi grill. Man,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yep. And
Charles knows.
really, really good.
This guy
So
knows.
listen,
I know,
man.
I know.
He's basically from
North-
here, it sounds like. You spend a lot
Yeah.
of time in the RMD.
Hey, you're always welcome. Always welcome.
Oh, love it. Love it.
So yeah, so our conversation today is Life 2025. Charles, if you could just fill us in on some of the important details from the national side of things. Where's it at? When is it going to be? What's it going to look like? Last two Life 2022 and 2019 were both down in Orlando. And so we've gotten kind of used to that if you've gone the last two times. And so now we're shifting gears. Give us kind of a picture of what we're looking at.
Yeah, so Life 2025 is coming up. So for those of you who don't know what Life is this next generation gathering of Alliance family to experience God and expand his kingdom locally, globally.
Mhm.
It's this national Deeper Life conference for high schoolers. It happens every 3 years. And someone said it as one on the planning team this past year. He said, Life Conference is like the biggest party outside of heaven. It's like an amazing time where God always consistently meets high school students to either draw them closer to him or invite them into full-time ministry. And it's a beautiful, beautiful time in the life of an Alliance student. So this next year, it's going to be in 2025. It's going to happen July 4th through the 9th, and it's going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana. Really, really excited about this location. We're going to have, for those of you who were at Life 2022 and 2019, we had a lot of space in Orlando. It was really great to have that space. But in Indianapolis, we have almost 3 times the amount of space. And so when we look at what we could do, the creative minds putting together of what we can do in this space, man, we have a lot more opportunity to make this Life conference really, really amazing. So I'm really excited. So that's kind of the overview of what Life is. There's a lot of different things that we do at Life. There's big name speakers we always bring in, really amazing worship. We cover topics that are really relevant to the life of a high school student, answer some of the big questions, or at least ask them some of the big questions that they're already pondering to help them shape their identity in Christ, help them find belonging in the church, and give them a purpose outside of themselves, even outside of their own local churches. Sometimes I think a high school student really gets boxed in and kind of loses the vision of, hey, church is larger than what I experience on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Church is actually this big C church. And when they come to life, they're like, whoa, I never really knew. And now they know.
Yeah.
And they can never look away, never turn back and say, I'm part of this bigger thing that I didn't even realize. So it's a really beautiful experience. And so it's coming up Life 2025, July 4th through the 9th.
Yeah,
so
I love
that's kind
that.
of the overview.
I love that part, Charles, of it's what I tell a lot of people as well. Of it is an amazing moment when you see yourself a part of something much bigger than yourself. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. It's one of my favorite things. I think this will be my 6th Life conference. And it's just every time, like I know it's coming, and yet every time I'm just struck by how awesome our God is, that he is moving and working in so many different places that I'm never in. And of course he is,
Don't
right?
you love it?
But you get to see his hand in so many different ways, and I absolutely love that. For those that have gone before, the date and time is a slight shift from previous conferences, correct? As far as
That's
it used to
correct,
start on a Tuesday and go through a Saturday. So can you walk us through a little bit of that shift, it being a Friday through a Wednesday?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that we kind of considered when we chose to start on Friday and on July 4th, right?
Yeah.
So this little bit different there, right? So one thing is we find that the majority of our alliance churches have youth ministries that are led by volunteers, and so asking a volunteer to give up a lot of time to go to Life, there are some challenges that happen there, you know. A volunteer goes from, you know, having to take off, requesting maybe a week off, to now realizing, hey, actually, I can just request maybe 3 days, and I can attend all of Life conference. And so that's a really big help for the churches when they're taking in the volunteers to come to help staff Life conference. Also, we realized that July 4th, that week, is a really good week to honestly get some really good room rates for conferences.
Which we
and
like.
So if you look at all the other, which we do like a lot, right? It reduces the price. If you look at all the other most of the other denominational conferences, national conferences, they happen over the same week. Sometimes in Orlando, sometimes all over, you know, different cities. But the reason why is because of room rates. You know, you really can't beat them. Conference centers and hotels really drop them for large conferences like ours. And so it's a really huge benefit there.
Very cool.
And it gives us a chance to celebrate together as Alliance Youth Family, July 4th. That's exciting, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. And for me, when I was looking at, hey, okay, it's a day shift, you know, and I kind of thought of the same thing. My leaders were looking at it too, and they're like, I wonder if it's going to help, you know, because they were looking at the same thing. Maybe I don't have to take as many days off of work as maybe I would have in the past, and so on and so forth. So appreciate y'all thinking about that. And putting a lot of effort into that, and then trying to keep the costs down as costs have continued to just go up and up and up all around us. Could you share with us what the cost is going to be? Because I think most people should be pretty excited about what the cost is going to be for the conference.
Yeah, so the cost really hasn't changed much for the past good number of years. This year, the premiere cost for that's gonna be opening on September 2nd is gonna be $489 for the conference. So that's a premiere cost from opening from September 2nd to October 31st. And then the regular registration, which will be starting on November 1st, will be $509 per person. And that'll go from November 1st to the end of February. And then it jumps one more time, the last chance kind of thing, March 1st to May 31st is going to be $529. And all of those costs are also found on our website, allianceyouth.com. You can go there even right now to check that out. If you didn't catch what I just said, you can see that on the website there too.
Very cool.
There is, when you register, just so everyone knows, there's a 30% per person non-refundable deposit that will be due when you register your group. So just be aware of that. And then the balance is due at the end of May of 2025.
And then
So
you can transfer that. So if you have a student, correct, like other years, if you have a student that was going and ended up not, but you found another student that wanted to go, you could transfer that balance that's already been paid to that new student, correct?
that's correct. Yeah, that's a pretty simple, just name change. Our event
Yeah,
coordinator
love
is
that.
really amazing. She's been working with Life Conference for many years, and so she can just
Yep.
switch that. Yeah.
I can verify that many times, called, texted, emailed, and the Life staff has always been just phenomenal in working with myself and my group. And we usually bring a decent sized group, and there's changes that happen as you try to move through stuff. And you're like, and yeah, they make it such a breeze from when I start going into it, going, oh, this is gonna be terrible, and by the end it's like, oh, that was painless. I love it. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
huge
thanks for saying that,
kudos
Harry, man.
to you both, you and Scott both, and all your staff. You guys do a great job trying to do all that you can to make it simple for us, trying to bring people there. So the cost is only, if I remember right, last Life, the cost was $479. So we're talking only a $10 increase. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That nowhere else am I
Yeah.
seeing that small of an increase in things.
Try and
pretty much-
find that inflation at the grocery store.
Right.
Not gonna
Yeah,
find
it's
it.
true, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not
We're
gonna
talking
find
like
it.
2% or something like that. It's not happening. I saw some document of all the fast food restaurants from 2019 to today, and there's a bunch of them that are like 180% increases in
Right.
their prices over that five-year
Yeah.
span. And you all have increased your price by $10.
So
Not
youth
10%,
worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$10. I mean,
you-
it's pretty awesome.
Youth worker, you got to decide. It's either 18, a dozen and a half of eggs, or Life Conference.
Oh,
And I think Life Conference is the decision. That's
All
the
the
place
way.
to go. And
Yes.
Charles, what I'm hearing you say, and what I would think would be anyone from the RMD, any youth worker, hear this. The denomination is wanting to make this cost effective and also an
Yes.
easy on ramp for volunteer workers, which we know we have a lot in the RMD. So when you hear that, my hope would be that you would hear that as an open door and rolling out of the red carpet, as it were, saying, "Come, be a part of this."
Yeah.
Because Charles, I love you talking about experiencing God, like, yeah, and getting people,
Yeah.
getting young people to just be around other believers from all over the United States, and to see them and interact and worship God and experience God in a profound way. How cool is that? And to be able to
Yeah.
and to do that in a way where you're trying to make it cost effective. I think it's genius. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, we believe in the Life Conference just because of how we see God working consistently in the Life Conference. So yeah, we're trying to make it as affordable as possible while still keeping that bar of excellence super high.
Yeah,
So we're really excited this year.
good.
Yeah. So what's the layout going to be like? You shared a little bit, touched on it, that we're, Orlando, maybe got a little used to that. Now we're in Indianapolis. We have a lot of space in the conference center. I'm guessing hotels that are around there we'll probably utilize. But could you give us kind of an idea of what that's going to look like?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We in Orlando, we were kind of spoiled, right? A little bit spoiled because you didn't have to leave the building ever.
Yeah, right.
Unless you wanted to go to the pool,
Yeah.
right?
That's the
The
first Life
800-person
conference I
pool was a
know of
huge draw, right?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think maybe ever since maybe one of the college campuses we used to be in way back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this time we're moving back into the city, back into a downtown environment. But a really cool thing about this is we're going to be in the Indianapolis Convention Center, and all of the hotels that we're using are able to be connected to the Indianapolis Convention Center through Skyway. So really, in the same way, you never have to leave a building.
Love it.
You can still go straight from your hotel straight into the convention center. It is a huge convention center though, so we have almost the whole thing. So we have maybe there's 2 or 3 rooms that we aren't using, but the rest of it we're using. So really, there's not really going to be very much else going to be happening in the convention center when we're using it. So we shouldn't have to worry about cross bleed from other people walking through
Mhm.
convention center. We have that space. We
Yeah.
own that space.
Sweet.
And so really excited. Yeah.
Awesome. And so with that, what's the daily rhythm going to be looking like here? As far as, large group time, breakout times, free time, all that kind of stuff. Is that going to look like previous years? Are there some changes with that? Yeah, what's going on with those?
Yeah, that's going to look very similar to previous years. With for the leaders going, there's always that adult leader meeting in the morning, usually right around 7:30. There's gonna be a prayer time right around kind of similar time. We have a prayer team that meets every single morning, separately from the leaders, and really their job during that time during life is just to pray. So they pray through every session in the morning, 7:45, 7 to 7:45, where leaders can come and pray with this prayer team. And then the main morning session starts at 8 a.m., goes to 9:45 with worship, with teaching, with some other. I think we have usually two different types of engagements from the main stage. Lots of hype team involvement there too to set the tone and to have fun together. And then service projects will start right around 10 o'clock. And we'll have a morning seminar, two seminar blocks, morning seminars and the afternoon seminars. Prayer and justice and missions experience will happen as well. Usually run from around 10 or 11 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. right before dinner. So those will be there. We're working on also trying to cut down lines for the experiences. I know in the past, experience lines have been super, super long. And so we're trying to work to schedule some of those times for groups to come and say, we're going to be showing up at the experience at this specific time. We have a spot. So you don't spend an hour, 2 hours waiting in
That's
line,
great.
even though we do. Yeah, we have always said, the experience really does start in the line, in the line,
Yeah.
because you're able to create some different dynamics in that line. But we want to cut that down so you can go experience other things of life as well. So
that's a great addition. I was gonna say the lines are so long because y'all do such a great job with them. And every year they just keep improving and so unique. And for those that haven't been to a life conference before, Charles is talking about both a missions experience, right, and a prayer experience. And both are incredibly unique, engaging, a little tacky maybe to say life-changing experiences, then they're meant to be truly. And I cannot tell you how many students I have been able to pray maybe for the first time in a deep, real way, where I'm seeing them truly broken or truly passionate or truly impacted by God speaking to them and working in their lives, that I hadn't had that opportunity yet. And it was in those experiences that I was able to come, or one of my leaders were able to go and take that incredible time with that student and pray with them. So, yeah, y'all do such a great job with those. I love hearing that it's going to be maybe a little more expedited in getting into those. So that's a very cool addition. I forgot to ask you, Charles, do you guys know roughly what hotels are going to cost per room?
yeah.
Because that's an impacting cost as well as travel and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, the registration will open at September 2nd. And then the room registration will open up in the beginning part of December. And that the average room rate is 139 per night,
Okay.
per room per night. And so still trying to keep those room rates low. There are some that will, as you'll see when you get to it, that you can fit more people in than others. There's some suites that maybe some of the larger groups, if they want to meet together, they can kind of put their teams in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 139 per night per room.
Okay.
Yep.
And at minimum, those rooms typically fit 4 people, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. They'll at minimum fit 4 people. Yeah. We always try to book as many double doubles as possible. So double doubles or double queens.
Yeah.
So we can fit 4 people in there.
Love it.
Whether or not I remember bringing groups to life, and I always had a couple of boys sleeping on the floor because like I'm not going to share a room with share a bed with that dude. It is what it is, right?
Yep.
It's youth ministry. So
Yep. Absolutely.
it's part of the experience.
Yep.
And Charles, when a youth leader is registering and getting those rooms, the desire is to keep those rooms together and Right. So you're with your people, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, Jordan York is our, I don't know if she would have wanted me to say her name, but Jordan York is our event coordinator, and she does a really amazing job
Yep.
with making sure that your group is always together. And it's very, very rare that a group will be split
Yep.
up because she does such a
Yep.
just an amazing job. She works really hard at making sure your group stays
Yeah.
together. So yeah,
Phenomenal
really good.
job. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Every time we've been together, she does a phenomenal job. Absolutely. So yeah, so that's a great overview of Life 2025. Chris, I want to hear from a district level, what are some things that y'all are doing for our district as we look towards 2025?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. One thing that I'll say that we did at the last live conference that we're really hope to do again. And Charles, I'm going to get him to agree to it on air right now. No, just kidding. But we were able to secure a room last time on opening night, and we got all of the RMD students from the whole district together. There were like 200-300 people. And it was a super great time together. And we're going to try to do something like that again. Not only is it just a fun time, but then as you're going throughout the conference, you see people, and we played some games together and stuff, and we might have some giveaways and some things like that. But it's just kind of a fun way to kick everything off. And I think for some of us that live far away from other towns, or to get together and be like, hey, we actually all are in Montana, Wyoming, North, South Dakota, Idaho, all in the same kind of area. And so we're going to do that again. The other thing that's going on, so the district leadership, that's not just the district staff team here, but also kind of the district board, the district executive committee, just approved a couple months ago a grant. They've done this the last couple of times. It's not something that sort of we count on, but it's something that gets looked at every time. And so this is how this grant is going to roll out this year. It's a $250 scholarship for every student to help them attend life. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so this is, I was thinking about this because the travel is cheaper to Indianapolis, and I think the rooms are a little bit cheaper if I'm remembering those numbers right.
Yep.
Yeah.
This actually is more of a benefit in some ways than it was for even last life conference. And we had, I don't know, we had 270 of these grants or something. So this is a significant investment from the district advance fund, which is something that all of the churches in our districts contribute to. So when we talk about giving to the district and people kind of wonder, what does that money go for? This is one of those things where, every 3 years or so, the last couple of live conferences, we've had, $40,000, $50,000 go for this. And so it's $250 per student. It's also $250 per sponsor per every 7 students of the same gender. That's a really weird way to say that, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. Here's what it means. If you have 9 guy students going, and we will offer 2 scholarships for male sponsors, right? So for the first 7, and then you've got 2. And so you say, hey, for 9 students, we want to have two guys there. And then if you have another 3 ladies going, then you have a female sponsor, then that'll be a 3rd grant, right? There's that limit 1 to 7 kind of keeps us from saying, hey, we've got 4 students and we've got 5 sponsors going. It's like, that's fantastic, but you're going to get 1 sponsorship grant for that. Right. So the other thing that we're doing, and we only had a couple of these last time, but we're hoping to have more, is that if you have someone from your church that wants to go and volunteer at Life, we did have 1 couple do this last year or last Life. We're also offering that grant to assist with their travel. So you're not going as a sponsor. Awesome. You're going to help volunteer, and so we want to encourage that. So per student, per sponsors, up to 7, per that 1 to 7 ratio, and then for volunteers. So super awesome. We've got a really just great-hearted, generous district executive committee, and Jonathan Wiggins, district superintendent, super supportive of this stuff, and so. Really, really excited to see that happen again. And I'm really excited to see all those dollars go further because it is Indianapolis. So that's a kind of a great side benefit. So, So the way that you would take advantage of that is when you get registered, send me an email. My email address will be in the show notes. It's just ctweedy@rmdcma.com. Send me a copy of your registration, and then we'll connect and we'll get all the funds out there. And
Yep.
students add and students drop and all that kind of stuff. We understand all that, but we'll work it out. But just send me an email with the registration confirmation. That's the first step, and we'll just take it from there. It's a pretty simple process.
Yep. I've got to
Chris,
say,
that is
go
that is
ahead.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is incredible. Like I haven't seen districts give that big of a scholarship to anyone going to life in a long time. That's huge, guys. You're allowing students in it the opportunity to go to life that maybe never would have had
Mhm.
before, or made it feel more manageable for a student
Yeah.
or for a family to say it's if they have 2 students going. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of money. But since the district is coming alongside them saying, we can support you guys. We
Yeah.
can get you there. It makes it feel, for one, there's a deeper partnership there.
Yeah.
2, there's like this other alleviation of any kind of financial burden, but also you're saying, hey, we believe in the students. We
Yeah.
believe that God wants to do something in you
Yes.
at Life Conference. So we're going to make it possible. So
Yes.
That's
man,
awesome.
awesome. Great job, Chris.
Yep.
Great job, Rocky Mountain District.
Yep.
That's really cool.
We seriously
Yep.
have the best district. I mean, I say that at national meetings, and people like don't believe me, but it's true. So if
Yep.
if you're listening to this and you're a youth pastor in another district, the door's open, my friend. We need
Yep.
a
Come
few
talk
more
to
youth
us.
pastors. Just
Come
hit me up
talk
at
to us.
ctweedy@rmdcma.com.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Pastor
we
Harry at
will annex
faithlinestudy.org. Yeah.
we'll annex your youth group into, our district. We'll just
Satellite campus. Will
That's
be
right.
virtual campuses.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna
We
say
wanna
the
take-
the most
we do
important
that.
part of getting the grant is being in the RMD. I was going to say that, Chris, when you were sharing
There you
that. The
go.
most important
There you
part,
go.
step 1, is to be in the Rocky Mountain District.
Right.
Yeah, I've got to say thank you to Chris. Thank you to Jonathan. Thank you to
Yes.
Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you to our Dexcom, our District Executive Committee, for doing that. This is the 3rd year, and probably more than that, but the 3rd year that I've led groups. This will be the 4th time, 2016, 2019, and 2022, where we have received funds from the district, believing in our youth ministries, that this is an important piece of their development and growing in their faith. And so I've got to say thank you as well. We've been on the receiving end many times, and I was blown away by that number, 250, because that is another increase. It was 200, I believe, last
Mhm.
life. And so this is another
Wow, yeah.
increase. And we are incredibly blessed. And so thank you. Because it helps our leaders. It helps my board, my governing board, when we're looking at finances for this, not go, but they're like, we're excited, we're positive, because we're being partnered with. We're not being left on an island to figure it out.
Right.
So if you're not getting excited about that, I don't know what else will get you excited. You probably should just stop listening to the podcast. I'm just kidding.
Check
Don't
your
do that.
blood
Don't stop
pressure.
listening. Don't stop
do
listening.
that. Don't do that. It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Go
So
to
just
the hospital. You might need to be, I don't know.
Yeah, resuscitated. So just to finish this episode off, I wanted just to go through some pro tips, and go through some different thoughts, ideas. We have fundraising, travel. I think of some different guidelines, rules that I have for our group. There's pre-conference things that we can be doing, meetings, devotionals. There's post-conference things that we can be doing, debriefing, a thank you dinner for all the people that supported you, a church recap on Sunday. And so, I just wanted, Ben, more than anything, what kind of questions are flowing through your head as you approach this? Is there something that you're like, I wonder about, or I'm curious about? Is there something gnawing at you, or that you're curious about, that undeniably someone else who hasn't gone will probably
Right.
have that same thought?
I just think I think of timing of when to start talking to students and getting things rolling. But I feel like as I'm hearing Charles share, September 2nd, right? Is when that
Is when it
that is
opens.
launched, when that opens,
Yeah.
and if you're not having a conversation before that, then you've missed the like. Start having this conversation. We're
Yeah.
putting this podcast out
Yep.
in summer 2024 so that you can then have that meeting now,
Yeah.
because it's in a year, and
Ahead of
it's going to
time.
take some fundraising and all of that. So I think timing is good. I just think for me it's predominantly just what is it what does it look like day to day being there, and for me as a youth pastor, I'm really in my zone when I have a good idea
Mm,
about what the day is going to look like, and I kind of have it mapped out
yeah.
in my head, and then I go, I know where these kids are going to go. And so and I think just diving into and looking at schedules and doing that and seeing the information the denomination brings out, I think is key. So my thing is educate yourself
Mm,
and talk
mm.
to people,
It's a
right?
great pro tip. Yep.
Harry, you're talking about like when to do devotionals in the morning and when to
Yeah.
meet and when to have debriefs post conference and all of that.
Hmm.
I think that's awesome. I'm hearing that, and I think that might need another episode
I
where
think it
we
will. I think it will.
closer to the date where
Maybe
we
in the
go, hey,
fall, huh? Maybe in the
right.
fall.
That's what
Hmm.
I'm thinking, because
Yeah.
Yep.
we've just gotten like a fire hose of great stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that's the precursor, that's the prep, and now you're going, now what?
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
because man, we could sit here and talk for another 40 minutes easy
Yep.
on
Yep.
all of that, but I
Yep.
think that needs another
Yeah.
deep dive.
Right. We could have a more elongated pro tip episode at a later time. I agree with
Yeah.
that. One thought I did have that I think is a change, if I noticed it right, is that the housing registration is not going to be opened at the same exact time as the conference registration. In previous lives, you register for the conference and then you could register for the hotel right away after that. And what I always felt as a leader was you needed to have all your ducks in a row right on September 2nd, because all those rooms are getting filled up by everyone else who's gotten it in already. So I love the change, truly, Charles, because it's going to help, I think, a lot of leaders relax. Like work on between September 2nd and I think it was November 1st was the first where it
Bump.
jumps, November 1st, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
You're going to have that time to work on registering everyone without this pressure of, oh, I gotta know so I can go get the rooms before rooms get filled up. And I want this hotel with this, suite or whatever. And now I'm worried about it. So I love that change. I think that's a phenomenal change. And my little pro tip to
Yeah.
anyone listening is take a breath. Take a breath.
Yeah.
You've got time. Begin thinking, praying, talking to leaders. I would say before you go talking to students, start talking to some adult leaders that you think would be good teammates with you to be leading on this trip, because that'll give you an idea of kind of who is going to help you plan and implement and run fundraisers and so on. And as you're doing that, you can have conversations with students, obviously. But I think sometimes we want to get it to the students and then like this afterthought of like, oh yeah, I need adults to come with them. I would have the adult conversations first right now as you're having conversations with students. Because when you have that on
Yeah.
lock, now you have a team helping you. It's not all on you. And so you might go 6 months down the road, not do that, and you're doing everything. And then you're burnt out before we're even like 5 months from the conference. You're already burnt out. Like pro
Mhm.
tip, look at your adults, find some adult leaders that share this vision and ask them to join you as a teammate and then lead together. And they will help advertise and talk and conversate with those students and get them on board. When September 2nd comes around, you can make a way bigger push when your fall ministries get going. And then away you go. And you don't have this pressure of, I got to get the hotels right away. They're filling up. We can all take a breath. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
phenomenal change. And I'm already looking at that going, because I'm working my butt off in the summer because I'm trying to get all my kids together so that I can do the hotels right away, because I want to give my kids the best rooms I can as well, right? And so I just love that. So that's my one pro tip. Charles and Chris, do you guys have a pro tip you want to throw in there that you think is
Yeah,
important?
I would say for me, as youth pastor in local church, I would always make a point to lead and write a message series for my youth based on the theme for life that I would launch in the fall. So, and I didn't mention this earlier, but the theme for Life 2025 is here and now.
Love it.
That's going to be the theme, that God has you here and he's doing something in you here. But now what? Now where is he moving us? This trajectory of like, hey, we're here to meet God, but he is asking us to step into something different. He's inviting us into the space. So really beautiful. So I would always have this message series that I would craft based on the Life Conference theme that I would launch in the fall. Usually be my second or third series that I run in the fall, and it really helped just to prime the pump, but also help me to really easily show any promo videos that come out for Life Conference to stir more excitement. Hey, remember fundraising is happening, but also remember God is going to do something amazing, and it really helps the hype. So that'd be my pro tip. Harry, I love the fact you mentioned leaders. Leaders are super important for Life Conference, and leaders that are intentionally going to be engaging your students, intentionally see what students are going through and what God is doing in them, and also will really walk with them well. Sometimes they're not always leaders that are always in your frame of view. Sometimes those leaders are not even plugged into the youth ministry yet, but might be a really good way to onboard them into youth ministry. Kind of throwing them into the fire, going to Life Conference, but hey,
I did the same exact thing. I've got
great
3
experience.
leaders that did that exact process. So,
and they're hooked. They're like, I love this. God does amazing things in the lives of students, and I want to be part of it. So, pray for your leaders. That's good.
Yeah, and sometimes you find leaders that are like, hey, I can't commit to youth like all year, but I can do like sort of some one-off push events, whether it's something big like Life, or maybe just something like camp or something like that. So finding those, I just call them almost like situational volunteers, is nice. But I agree with you guys that we'll do a podcast as we get closer to talk about some of the nitty-gritty, like you're talking about, Ben, like travel and meals and schedule and debrief times and all that, and how do you talk to the church afterwards, and fundraising and some of that. But I would say a couple of things up front. One, I would really encourage you to connect with a professional travel agency. They have things with like group rates for travel for most of us will be flying probably, and that's something that sometimes you don't always think about. But that would just be something even now to start kind of looking at and just making a call. We have a couple that we've used in the past that we'll throw into the show notes that you can just kind of check out, and they might be helpful. The other thing is that consider, and you have to work this into your own context, but consider finding a way to make this feel like an appointment rather than an optional activity. And what I mean by that is that the church is sending you here. Like the church is like, we love you, we see your future, and because most churches are contributing some, like we are actually sending you, we're investing in you. And it's not like, do you or do you not want to go to Life? Like you have to figure this out in your own context. But I say the same thing with mission trips. Like you're an ambassador for the church. We're investing in you. It's not like, like on mission trips, I tell people it's not really your decision whether you should go. Like ultimately, like the church should be able to curate who they think the Lord is sending, and in a slightly different way. But in that same vein, I like that approach with things like this, and it adds a little bit of gravity to it. That like, hey, like the church is behind you, and so this is something that that we're doing as a church, and not just it's not just completely up to you. You've been invited into it, and there might even be a conversation about why do you want to go and things like that. So that's something as you start on the front end that I think builds some of that excitement, and I think rightly makes the right amount of weight to it. You know,
Mhm.
there should be a feeling that this is something that's really important and is really a
Yes.
blessing and special. And it's not just a trip to do something fun and goof around, but there's
Yeah.
really something, you know, significant behind it. So that's
Mhm.
something that I
Yep.
just always kind of, with any of these
Yep.
type of events, I think it's a good posture.
Yeah, I love that.
Good.
I say
That's
a lot of
good.
times to our students, this isn't a vacation, it's ministry. You're entering into
Yeah.
ministry to be ministered to and to minister to others.
Absolutely.
And as you step
Yeah.
into that, yeah, how do you not get excited? You're asking me to come and be a part of that, like to minister to others, and you believe in me, you see that in me. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. So
Good.
I want to
Yeah.
thank Chris. I want to thank Charles. Oh, go ahead, Charles. You got one more.
Yeah, one last pro
Yeah,
tip.
yeah.
We have starting on June 1st. Yeah, June 1st, we're launching our leader guide on our
Yes.
website. Also our price estimator. So these things are a huge pro tip for the leader, especially leaders who are going to be leading the group, and it helps you give you information and material content for any parent meetings you're going to have, any tracking, fundraising trackers, things like that. It helps a ton. And if the price estimator, if you have any issues with it, sometimes people have issues with formatting. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Have any issues with that, please contact me or Scott. We'd love to help you with that.
Yep.
And if you need a fundraising tracker, I can help you out with that as well. We have some good trackers we can send you guys,
Cool.
and it's really easy to plug data in and it tracks for you. So
Wonderful.
but yeah, huge pro tip. It makes the planning process and fundraising process of Life Conference so much easier.
Yep.
So look for those things to hit the website on
Yep.
June 1st.
I'm
I
liking
love
all of that. I'm
love
really
it.
liking all of what you just said. What
Mhm.
Charles just said was good.
Yep. Yep. And as he says that, I'm gonna offer again. And many took me up on it last time in 2022. If you have any questions, we're here as a district team, as a district youth team to help you to walk those things through, to walk all the steps out, and timing of those steps. Right, we don't have to accomplish everything in one day.
Mhm.
And a lot of these things can get pushed back and accomplish the important stuff earlier on. So anyone that has questions, comments, emailing Chris or myself or Ben. Ben might just point you back to Chris or myself
Probably.
if you
No,
contact Ben.
I would encourage anyone. I
But
think
we want to help.
through all of this, be encouraged.
Yes.
Be encouraged. And Life Conference is a get to.
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah.
students
Yeah.
get to go.
Mm.
You can get volunteers who get to go. And
Yeah.
be excited. And I mean,
Yeah.
this guide that they're setting up, when you think about a trip like this, you might worry and get concerned, and I understand
Mhm.
all of that because it's a big to do. But when you just think about what God can do in it, you get excited and be encouraged, and
Mhm.
things people have done it. They've prepared it for it to be easy on road for you to
Yep.
get your students there. So
Yeah.
Yep.
get to go,
Absolutely. Go.
Ben, are you going to get to go this year?
Me? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
I just,
yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just,
Awesome.
I haven't been in the, I'm new. I'm new to our
Ah,
beautiful
gotcha.
denomination, which I love, and so
That's right.
We like new.
Yes, we do.
I'm that's why it's gonna be my first time. So
Yeah.
let it be known,
Awesome,
all
Ben.
right? That's why
That's right.
it's not because I was shunning Life
No.
Conference.
You're new.
No,
New.
I'm new, you guys.
Well, and anyone that
You're
hasn't
awesome,
gone
Ben.
yet, we want to help. Any way we can help, we want to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
It's well worth it. Well worth it. So I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Charles. Thank you for joining us today on the Third Thursday podcast. Your input and information was invaluable. So thank you both a bunch for joining us. Yeah, Ben, as
Yes, sir.
always, getting to do this with you is a joy and a privilege. So thank you.
Same.
Behind the scenes, we have Lindsay Wiggins that's doing a lot of editing for us and putting it all together. That just does a phenomenal job. Lots of hard work going into that as well. So we thank you, the listener, for tuning in on the Third Thursday podcast. This has been a Life 2025 overview and informational time. And so we are excited about what God is going to be doing moving forward. And as always, we want to ask you 3 questions before we end. As you listen to this podcast, we want you to ask yourselves, how does this affect you and your leaders? Obviously, a big trip like this is going to affect you and your leaders in various ways. How does this affect your students as you plan, as you prep, as you go through the steps, as well as when you go and when you come back? How is this going to affect my students? What can I do to help in that? And then last and most importantly, how is God going to be honored through all of this? And the steps that you're taking, yeah, I'm filling out this waiver form. God doesn't care about this. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He cares about all. I've got these permission slips. He cares about every step of this and your heart and your posture through it. And yes, there'll be times where you might get a little stressed out, and he cares about that too and wants to be in that and with you through that. So, yeah, thank you again for joining us, Chris and Charles. It was such a joy to have you both. And we look forward to being with you all on the next episode of the Third Thursday podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Third Thursday podcast. We hope you feel connected, encouraged, and equipped to reach students with the gospel. You can find more resources at rmdcma.com/youth. If this content was helpful for you, make sure to share it with a friend. See you next time.